Okay, so hello again, everyone, and hello to our folks online. If people who are online can please, Tim, what are you doing? It's going through the headphones. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Small technical checks there. So if people online can let us know in the comments if there is any issues with the sound quality while we're doing the community announcements, so that we make sure everything is perfect for the talks. So welcome everyone to this PyLadies Berlin event. It's really awesome to have you all with us. First, quick check. Is this the first time they've been to a PyLadies Berlin event? Yay! Welcome. That's awesome. Glad to have you here. Very interested to hear how you found out about us. And also hope that you enjoyed this evening and then come back and join those folks that had their hands down because they've been to multiple events. So this is the agenda for this evening. We're a little bit off the schedule. Those of you with the watch might notice, but that's okay because we have plenty of time and I'm sure we'll make it up throughout. So we're doing the community announcements right now, and then we will have the formal welcome from our sponsor, Kleinanzeiger and Mobile.de. We then have how to build a genAI application end-to-end in Python, which is our first talk. And we'll have a short break in between. And then we'll have our second talk, which is the making the most of production data with LLM agents. At that point, we'll close off the event that is live on the internet, so for the streaming folks, and we have a few things that are just for the people that are here in the room. So they're like, we're going to do a bit more of like an open mic kind of activity and open the floor, and therefore we feel like this is most appropriately done, not streaming. So sorry, folks that are watching from home, but you get to watch all of the talks that we have this evening. And as Sophie already mentioned, we'll try leave the space in a nice, tidy way so that no one's having to stay late, and then see everybody at the next event, hopefully. So for those who have not heard me or one of the other organizers say this at every event, PyLadies is a global organization, so we have chapters all around the world, and our mission is to promote and educate and advance a diverse Python community through outreach, education, conferences, events, and social gatherings, such as this one. We are a mentorship group, and we are focused primarily on marginalized genders, such as but not limited to non-binary people, trans people, and women in tech. And our focus is really to try and help our community become more active participants in the wider Python open source community. So especially, I think at the moment, everyone is feeling these uncertain times that we're in. For me, I have to say, I think it's even more important to find community and be together during this time period. And PyLadies is really trying to offer a space for that to happen. And it is a community-led space, led by the community, for the community, with the community. So we really encourage anyone to join. And we also have chapters everywhere, like I mentioned. So if you're traveling and you want to see some PyLadies, you can also do that. Sometimes we get PyLadies from other areas of the world coming to visit us. The Berlin chapter itself was founded in 2013. So we've been around quite a while now. We have quite a growing membership on Meetup, which sometimes I think, what does that mean? Because it's Meetup. But it is quite impressive to see how many people over the years have come along and discovered PyLadies and continue to follow us on this platform. There's 4 chapters in Germany, and we're really trying to encourage and grow and support other areas of Germany because, of course, in Berlin, we're very lucky. We're quite saturated in terms of members and hosts that will host us, like Kleinanzeiger and Mobile.de. But in other areas of Germany, there's also people who are looking for the opportunity. And we try to offer also support through the Germany PyLadies Fund, which is like heavily led also, I would say, by the Berlin chapter, because we are one of the biggest chapters globally, which is both an accomplishment and also something that I wish was not true, because it means a lot of those other chapters just aren't so active. We are running regular monthly meetups with talks and workshops like the one that you're at tonight. We do full day workshops occasionally. We do setup events to help people get started with coding. So wherever you are on that journey, we want to support you. And if you have ideas for things, we really welcome them. We want to connect people to companies. So that's why we move around different companies in the city, make these partnerships, offer them the chance to tell you about the jobs that they're looking to hire for, and give you that chance to connect. So if you are job hunting, I think it's also a great way to meet companies and talk to them at a slightly different level. And I actually personally found my job through a meetup. So I do think it is a good way to go about it. And yeah, basically anything we can dream. So we're quite ambitious. We don't always achieve all of those ambitions, but we really try to dream a little bit out of the box, think big, think how we can support more people with the resources we have. We do have a code of conduct. While we believe knowledge is for all, at the same time, as I mentioned, these events are primarily focused to empower gender minorities in the tech community. So by attending one of the events online or here in real life, you're also agreeing to the code of conduct. You can check it out online, but essentially the short version is we're dedicated to providing a respectful, harassment-free community for everyone. So we do not tolerate harassment or bullying of any community member in any forum. And if you feel like this has been violated, please reach out to us, because this is something at the core of us being able to build a safe space for everybody who's here. For all of our allies that are in the room, firstly and foremost, thank you for showing up. And secondly, please respect and recognize the space that you hold in the tech community already, and use that also to support our community. As Sophie already mentioned, we also take photos primarily for our social media. If you don't want to be in the photos, all good. She created these little stickers that you can use, or you can let us know. So next events coming up, there is the PyCon DE, which is happening. Is that the dates? I'm like, okay. I thought it was 26th or something, but anyway, that doesn't matter. I guess that's checked online, so it should be right. Oh no, then you're probably correct. So PyCon DE is happening not in Berlin this year. Just to be really clear, I think a lot of people felt confused about if it was going to happen in Berlin again. It's in Darmstadt, and we do have a couple of tickets. So if you are prepared to go to Darmstadt, it's not that far. You can go on the train. But if you are prepared to do that, then we do have some tickets for this. And then on March the 13th, we have another PyLadies talk evening, which is at Kraken. Oh, May. Yeah, that would make sense. Excuse me, 13th of May. All right. You can also create your own avatar if you would like. I love this project from PyLadies Sweden. It's a community project, and you can go online and create a little random avatar. If you're not already, join us on Slack. That's the place to find out all the information about when we have raffles, if there's job opportunities coming up, internships, ways to get sponsorship, etc., etc. It's really simple. You go to this address, slackin.pyladies.com, you accept the invite, and then join City Berlin. From there, there's loads of channels. It's also the global Slack, so you can also join channels from different cities as well. And this is our invite to you all to come and speak at this event. So we have two amazing speakers this evening, Kira and Claudia. Super props to them for showing up and sharing their knowledge with the community. We invite you all to do the same. This is a really nice space to practice, to get used to speaking if that's something that you're interested in doing. It's a nice space to share information, get feedback. We really try to support speakers, so we offer dry runs, and we can also help you with come up ideas. It's a great springboard also for then going and speaking at a conference like PyCon DE or PyData that's coming up later this year. And one of the reasons why we record these events is because then you have this example of you being able to speak in front of an audience. And often conferences will ask for that. So this is a really good way if you want to get into speaking to springboard that a little bit. Also, it doesn't have to be like a 30-minute, 40-minute talk, right? That's a bit daunting. It could also be a lightning talk. And we actually have this section that we call non-coding superpowers, which are like 5-minute lightning talks, which essentially are focusing on foundational skills. So rather than the domain-specific skills, such as like how you can use an LLM to build something in your tech stack, or something about the latest Python language development. This is talking about presentation, how to negotiate salary if you're job hunting, anything like that. Also like mindfulness, how you get in the zone at work, anything you're interested in, we're interested in. So hopefully I have encouraged you a little bit to get involved. You can give a talk or workshop. You can help us organize a meetup. You could be a coach at one of our workshops. We also run Humble Data now and then, which is a great beginners workshop for data science. And we always need people to support there. And you can join the organizing team. And it's not a huge commitment. That can mean showing up 1 month and then not the next. Maybe you show up for a couple of months and then you drop out because you have, life happens, right, to all of us. So if you do have something to give, this community would appreciate it. And it can be as much or as little, and take the form that you want it to. So we have monthly meetings the first Monday of the month, I want to say, where we kind of like talk about the things that are coming up and where help's needed, but you can always just ask in Slack. So with that, I would like to introduce you to our two speakers. And I'm just going to check with my technical engineer over here, Timna. Am I introducing both speakers now, or one and then?
One now and then one later.
One now. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. My wing lady over here. So I would like to welcome, and you can come up as well, Claudia, if you like, Claudia Dresselhaus. I forget house. She is a senior LLM engineer and shares her experiences, key lessons, and good practices for creating AI-powered solutions. Love it. If you're a beginner looking to improve, this session is going to give you some practical insights and real-world examples to get started. And I'm also sure if you are beyond a beginner, it's also going to be really great to see how you're approaching this. So please join me in welcoming Claudia. So we will just switch over to your slides.
In the PowerPoint over here.
Perfect.
Sorry, I just need to get this.
Okay.
Open this one quickly. Okay. All right.
Excellent.
Probably have to switch it again. That's perfect. All right.
Looks good, no? I think that's great. Sorry, the camera is already running. You're already live.
Yes.
So hello, audience. But let's join me again to welcome Claudia, please.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Claudia Dresselhaus, and I have about 5 years of experience in the commercial world. But before, I always loved to write code, especially in Python. I think Python is amazing, and I'm so happy to be part of this community and share my passion with all of you guys. So yeah, that's one thing that we all have in common, right? So you can add me to LinkedIn if you like. So this is just a QR code that will share a link to my LinkedIn. So yeah, I'll be your presenter today, and I'm just going to talk about building a generative AI app in Python. So I'm not going to share all the details about all my projects, but I'm just going to tell you actually how you can build a generative AI application end to end. And yeah, you don't actually need a lot of work. You don't need a lot of experience. I've seen a lot of people doing like applications from scratch. They don't need so much. They don't need so much experience, right? So it's actually really, really simple. And I've seen people doing it within a day. I've seen people doing it during hackathons. And that's why I just feel like, hey, if I can encourage people, especially if you want to have a startup or do some project or build your own virtual assistant, you can do that. So, and I just want to encourage people that they can. So that's why I'm starting out with this part. So just a little bit of the agenda.
We're actually sharing the wrong screen on Restream. So
Okay.
before you get into it, could we go back to the Restream?
Yeah, sure.
Because they're seeing
Yeah,
what you see.
I was thinking as well that this was happening.
But that's okay.
So
just stop sharing.
And then probably
window.
This.
And then this one.
Yeah. All right. All right. So the agenda for today, I think it's good, right?
Wait.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Now it's good.
Okay, cool. So the agenda for today, I presented, or I'm starting a Menti. So it's an 8 minutes icebreaker for you guys, just to have a look and just to get a feeling of like the crowd a bit and see like who has done an application before, who started, who's curious. Then I have a demo. So I'm showcasing a genAI application that I created via a cookbook that I designed myself. Then I'm going to explain my cookbook. So it's just my own recipe to build genAI applications. So just a small application on how to build it. And then I would like to have a minute just to thank PyLadies and the sponsors of today. And then there's a Q&A. So please feel free to speak up, write in the chat, or use the Menti, which is an anonymous Q&A platform, to ask your questions at any time at the end of the presentation. So I'll just go through all of it, and then you guys can, of course, ask questions and even write comments in the chats or using this Menti. All right. So
here's the internet if you guys need it.
Yeah, so yeah, you guys would need internet to join the Menti. So you can go to menti.com and use this code. And I'm just going to quickly switch to the Menti. And then there's also a QR code here. So in this QR code, if I'm going to, I'll present. And this QR code over here, you can scan it, and then it will come up to the slide here. So you got lots of QR codes today. So yeah, so you got one person answering already. Yeah. So if you're online, you can still you'll see the presentation, but you won't see, unfortunately, the bars.
What we're seeing is if you had your own AI system, what would you do with it? Is that correct?
No, that's not correct. No, that's not correct. Okay.
Maybe we can just reshare while
okay, yeah.
folks are.
Yeah.
So just stop sharing.
I think it's inside the presentation. So it's there.
Ah, sweet.
All right.
Nice.
So it works inside the presentation.
That looks great.
All right. All right. So yeah. So I got some results. Yeah. So some people already done. So it's hiding the QR code, but some people already built the genAI. So quite a few, like actually the majority of people. And then there's people that have learned about it, but not really built a AI application before. And then there's the same amount of people that haven't had anything to do with it, but they are curious. And then the two that said others, yeah, if you like to speak up and tell me, that would be great to know. But yeah, you don't have to. But yeah, it's interesting. All right. So now that we know that most of you guys already built a genAI application, yeah, so it's really good. Yeah, so yeah, and many of you are curious, so that's also very good to see. Yeah, so I have a demonstration. So I've got it on a local host, but I also have it here as a video to just demonstrate it to you. So as you can see, I have a local host here, and I'm hosting it on port 8000. So it's just some local host. So my own laptop is busy hosting this application that I built. And you can see that it's called a feedback bot. So it's just my own design, my own idea. And you have a start button, you have like a transcription, you have summarize feedback, which is another button. So I'm more of a back-end engineer, so you can see that, yeah, I didn't use a lot of pretty things. But yeah, I have the basics, which I actually use genAI to help me, like ChatGPT to help me design the buttons and everything. So because I have little to no experience with that, so you can see how ChatGPT already can help you, or even things like Claude or Gemini to help you press buttons. Then I started recording, so I just pressed the button, and then I started saying, hey, I like Club Mate, or for example, or I like Coca-Cola because it gives me caffeine and sugar, or yeah, I like the zero because it's not so many calories and so on. I didn't like orange or the Fanta orange because, yeah, in my country, there's a lot more sugar in it, so where I came from, and has a different color. And then, yeah, I stopped it here, and then it's transcribing. So I'm using actually something called Whisper, which is a speech-to-text model that transcribed everything that I said during this demonstration. And yeah, you can see that it looked really pretty, and I'm really happy with it. And I'm like, yeah, this is Whisper did a good job, because it should, because it's the state of the art at the moment. So yeah, so then I'm happy, and I'm like, okay, I got everything. So now let me summarize the feedback that not only me, but everyone else that currently used this in the room. So I had lots of people using this in the room, and then at the same time, and then they all did the same as I did. And then I asked ChatGPT to now summarize everything. And then you could see that ChatGPT revealed this feedback and said, oh, okay, so the feedback is quite diverse. The preferences are diverse. So some prefer Fanta because it's not caffeinated. Some do prefer Coca-Cola because it is caffeinated. So you have like Apfelschorle, which is like German. So people were speaking German. Some people were speaking English. And that's the beauty of genAI as well, that you can have such a multitude of different things, and it's a lot more flexible. And it just, yeah, sometimes turns things into English, but sometimes it's not perfect. For example, the Apfelschorle wasn't translated. But yeah, this is what I've done. And I also added some keywords like Fanta, Coca-Cola, Cola Zero, Mezzo Mix, and yeah, the sentiment was quite positive. So even that ChatGPT or even these large language models can understand the sentiment of the overall feedback that people have given in the room. So yeah, that's why I love Python, and that's why I love large language models, because it's so cool to build your own application. Yeah. So yeah, that's just a demonstration. And yeah, so how did I do it? This is what I would like to explain. So yeah, I've got a recipe. So how to cook up a genAI application in Python. And it serves users worldwide because I'm on the World Wide Web, not really on localhost, but let's just pretend I can serve everyone on the World Wide Web. And yeah, the prep time, it could be between 30 minutes, depending on how complicated it is, but it can also take up to 3 months. So it can even take longer. It can even be a continuous cycle of software development cycle. So the difficulty, I would say, in my opinion, it's medium spicy, which means that there is some challenges, especially because you're doing it end to end. You will have a lot of debugging, a lot of stress, especially if you don't know some parts of it, and you have to talk to ChatGPT and figure out what's going on until it finally works. So that's why I would say it's sometimes a bit spicy. But yeah, so here are some ingredients that I have. So it's just a very simple genAI. Hey, so it's not something that you could industrialize, just how to build your own one. So here you have a place to cook. So that's always what's nice to have, like a Python application, like an IDE or a notebook, but I prefer IDEs. So in my case, I used Visual Studio Code as an IDE. Then 2 tablespoons of a pre-trained model, like a GPT, Mistral, or Llama. In my case, I used Whisper 1 and ChatGPT 4.0, which is a speech-to-text and a large language model. Then I used half a cup of Python plus AI libraries. So in my case, I used UV as a package manager and to create virtual environments on the fly. I used this OpenAI package. It's really important if you want to use an OpenAI model. This is the package that people use. Then you have the .env for keeping your keys secret and so on. And then I used Fast API and UVcorn to build that whole user interface that you saw. And also a dash of prompt engineering. And in my case, because I used OpenAI models, I went to go with the best practices or recommended practices that OpenAI shows in those blogs and on the internet. And I also asked ChatGPT itself. So I asked the large language model that I used, how do you prefer to have your prompt? Because it will change it. The way it thinks will make it work best for itself. So that's something that was also a lesson that I learned. So here are some instructions that I did. So the first thing is to create your development environment, Python, download Python libraries, just download Visual Studio Code, for example. Use tools like Git for version control, also very, very important because Git really helps you. And pip if you need it, and other virtual environments. It's always nice and clean to have it. So something like UV will help you a lot to keep things nice and clean. Then you pre-process your data. So that's the next step that you need to do. So you need to fetch your data, you need to clean it, you need to transform it, you need to tokenize it. If you use something like embedding models, and you need to split it up into training or test if you want to do your own AI model and you want to then first train it and then you want to test it. So that's what you do in this case. So in my case, I did it nice and easy. That's why I like AI a lot, because you have the OpenAI package, and then I used Whisper to do the whole processing for me, the whole pre-processing. So I used all the audio, and then I processed it into text for ChatGPT. So in my case, Whisper was the pre-processing model. And then you have a database. So for me, I just saved the transcription to a local database with a unique ID and the transcription. And that's like just basically speech to text. So that's the first thing I did. Then I chose my model. So in my case, it's very simple. And again, this is why I want to show you how simple it is actually to use ChatGPT with Python, with this OpenAI package. So you have OpenAI, and then you just say chat.completions. Then you create it using the model. You say what model it is. So in my case, it's ChatGPT 4.0. And then you have a message, which is your model input. So it's, in this case, it could be text. So it's mostly text in this case. Then you create your prompt. So you create your prompt for the model input. So in this case, this is my prompt. So it's what you kind of give ChatGPT a set of like instructions, or you can even give it a role like, you're a master feedback bot. So you're really good at this task, and you need to give me the summarization in this way. And in my case, I just asked it to give me a JSON back so that I can validate it in the end. Just so that it can I can always validate and make sure that whatever ChatGPT gives me back, I can validate it with a JSON. So that's why I made my life easier this way. And I gave it an output and an example. But prompt engineering is like a field on itself. So that's why I just kept it nice and short. But you can really dive into that. Then so I used that prompt and I put it right into that content. So it's into that model input. And that's also called a system prompt. So you can tell ChatGPT like a overall like instruction, and you call that the system prompt. And then you have the user input, which are those transcriptions that the speech to text model, that Whisper model gave me. So that's why that whole together, it's like just a list of things that you can then give to ChatGPT that you see later down there. So that's how easy it is. The next thing is to build your interface, right? So in this case, I used Fast API. So Fast API is fast. and it's easy. And it's an application, so it's an API that you can build. And I really like this package because you can also do a lot of validation, and yeah, it's fast. Did I tell you? Okay, so yeah, but you can also use something like Streamlit, so Python Streamlit package. If some of you guys already heard about it, it's really easy to use. So it's something if you don't know how to write like JavaScript or anything in CSS, Streamlit really helps you with that. But in my case, I used Fast API because I wanted to learn something new, and I wanted to learn how to build an API. So yeah, and then you can see that I used that load.env to keep my secrets nice and secret. So yeah, I just load it into my environment. Then I have some few static files, which are cascading style sheets, or just like static files for the API to grab it. So it's just some CSS files and some other static files. And then at the very bottom, you see that I have my launching page, which is also called the index file. Then you have the summary routes and the described routes. So you have different routes when it comes to APIs. And one of the routes is the starter page. Then that's that summary button and this transcribe button. So it's just different routes of what this API has to do. So it's just different ways of going somewhere. So yeah, that's the second last point. Is basically my main. So you can see that I'm hosting it. So you have to host your application somewhere. And in my case, I used localhost and I used the port 8000. Then I have some certificates because I noticed that sometimes my application only worked on Mac and not on Android, for example. So I just had these certificates because it needed those certificates in order for everything to work on Mac operating system, for example. Otherwise, it wouldn't allow me to do anything. And then I used Uvicorn, which just works hand in hand with Fast API. It's just another package to help you run your API, which is in my case the feedback bot. And then you just explain or define all your inputs, like your host, your port, and those certificates, and then you run it, which is really cool. You run it with Uvicorn. And in the end, yeah, you test it. You test with the users, and you constantly refine your app, and you make sure that it works on all devices. So that's where I also found out about the certificates, because sometimes it didn't work on everyone's device. So yeah, that's why I think it's always good and helpful to make sure it works on your phone, it works on your laptop, it works on other people's devices as well if you want to host it worldwide, for example. So yeah, so that's basically all I have. So thank you for PyLadies. Thanks for the sponsors. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, that was really great. So yeah, let's go to the questions. If anyone has questions, you can now speak up or write in the comments. Yeah. Yeah, so there's no questions from the audience yet, but there's 3 likes. Cool. So
I have a question. I
Yeah.
actually wrote down 2 questions while you were talking.
yeah.
The first one is, did you spend any money dealing with this project? So
Yeah.
did you need to spend anything? I know the ChatGPT, for example, is open, but in anything else?
Yeah, so the OpenAI models do require you to buy credits. In my case, I put 10 euros, and I think it was $0.03 per transcription, which is very little. So I didn't pay a lot for the stuff. And yeah, ChatGPT as well. It's very, very cheap. So if you want to, I really suggest that you take the 10 euros and learn a lot with it. So you have so much, you have so much to learn if you just spend a little bit. And I still didn't use up all my credits, and I think it was almost a half a year now. So yeah, it's really, I would really recommend it. Okay, so there's one question or 2. So for the audience, I'm just going to read it to you. is the code of your demo on GitHub? No, it's not. I'm actually considering to make it public or not, because yeah, you can see. But I think I might want to make it public, and I'll let you know if I do. Yeah. Ooh, I think. Yeah. Let me just go to the Menti so that I can go to the next question. All right. So the next question is, what was the greatest challenge you faced building this app? So the greatest challenge I've personally faced was the front end. I had no idea how to do the front end, and I had to kind of build it a bit with ChatGPT, and ChatGPT really gave me nice answers, but just getting down to the nitty-gritty parts, that was the hardest part for me. Yeah, just to build those indexes and make it look pretty. So yeah, and at some point I just said, okay, fine, that's how it's going to be. So yeah, that was the greatest challenge. Okay, so the third one is, how did you come up with the idea of the project? Yeah, so at the Essen Innovation Studio, which you can also see that animal in my LinkedIn profile, it's public, and we have a lot of workshops going on there. And one of the major issues is that people don't know what they truly think of those workshops. So like they come and go, and yeah, you have the Menti, like you have Menti right now. But the thing is that, yeah, they didn't know exactly what the people thought about the workshop, what to improve, which use cases are good, which weren't. That's why this feedback bot was just there to also anonymously gather feedback and actually understand what's happening in a room. Because you have a lot of people that come to this workshop, and yeah, Menti can only help you as much as the templates that they provide. And yeah, that's why we needed more flexibility. And I thought this was a great way, and you can actually see it if you go there. Yeah. Yeah. Question from the audience?
Yes. I'm wondering how much time did you spend in the end building this app?
Yeah, I used the weekend, so 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's ChatGPT that helped me a lot, hey? So yeah, that's why it's not, it's very, very easy. Yeah. I encourage people to do it because it's not as hard as I thought. I thought it was very hard at the beginning, but yeah. Yes?
I have a question to go with.
Yeah.
And I just, could you please help me understand
Yeah.
how the router differ from each other, the summary routing
Yeah.
and the transcript routing?
Yeah. Yeah, so the one is a transcript, so it's like a post, and the like it depends. So like it's different routes for different things. So you define what it needs to do. So the API, you define what it needs to do. So you have a indexer, which is just the launching page, and then you have like the AI. You have the transcribe. So you post. You post the audio, and then you fetch again like the transcription. So you have like different routes. So you have different definitions of what it needs to do. So you either have a post or a fetch. So it depends what you do. So either you send something or you receive something. So yeah, and you have different routes. So and there's different ways of doing these routes. So in my case, I do one route for one thing at a time. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, but I used a lot of ChatGPT for that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, first of all, how long have you been working as an LLM engineer? Because that's quite new, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the last 5 years.
Yeah.
The bigger question is, since tech jobs, the traditional positions are now scarce, and this seems to be the way to go. What would you advise to people who want to become an LLM engineer? What are the steps?
Yeah, so I'm only an LLM engineer or like a developer for about a year. But there were people before me for sure that's been doing that job for longer. So what it takes to be an LLM engineer, I guess what I would recommend and what the steps to take, I would start with one of these cloud stuff. So I would either go go those Google paths, learning paths that are for free, or the ones on MIT or Houston, which are also some for free. I would start with one of these career learning paths. And then I would focus on one. Like, for example, the Google one is really, really nice. It pulls you through all of these things, and yeah, you can gradually become better. So yeah, that's I would start with one of these learning paths. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in.
Yeah, you need
only
to go
because we're a
little
little bit behind.
over,
So we
Yeah.
will also, because I messed
Yeah.
up in the opening slides.
Yeah, no problem.
And I didn't introduce Sophie and thank our
No
hosts,
problem.
but amazing talk.
Thank you.
Maybe everyone will join me in thanking Claudia again. And I think a very good poignant question for us maybe to discuss in the break, because for sure this is a thing at the moment, right? Perfect. All right. So
Can people see me?
you're live.
Okay. Can you also hear me? There was with a loudspeaker, I mean. Perfect. Okay. Hello, welcome. Also, lovely people in the live stream. My name is Sophie. I work for Kleinanzeigen and mobile.de. And I'm very proud that I can host today the PyLadies event here. So, and it's a pity that you can't be here because I think it's a really nice place and everyone is enjoying. I would like to give you some information where you are about the companies. And maybe we meet another day than here or somewhere else, maybe online. Fun fact, the picture you can see in the slides that are our real colleagues from Kleinanzeigen, and you can also spot me. I'm also in the picture. So it's from a photo session we did for employer branding 2 years ago here in our office. And then, oh, how do I move the slide? Sorry. Sorry. There we go. Okay. So a bit facts to Kleinanzeigen. And I hear in the round, I would like to see your arms. Do you use Kleinanzeigen on your phone or on your laptop? So I see almost every hand goes up. Yes, and that's true because over 50% of the population in Germany uses Kleinanzeigen to sell or buy used goods or looking for bargains, of course. So we have on our platform 36 million users every month. And this comes because we have over 50 million live listings. That makes us very relevant, and we have listings in a various of categories. It can be furniture, it can be clothes, it can be bikes, it can be cars, and also real estate or toys for children or whatever. And here comes the part why Mobile and Kleinanzeigen are together. So we were part of eBay in the past. That was a 29. And then we were sold to another company, but we were always sister companies. And we also use this advantage and collaborate with each other. So car dealers on Kleinanzeigen can also put their listings on mobile.de and vice versa. So, and maybe you would like to ask how Kleinanzeigen is making money. So how do we make revenue? Because the platform for you as consumers is for free and it will stay for free, except to use the transaction opportunity to use the sicher bezahlen function, the secure payment function. But if you avoid this, then of course it's totally free for you. So we make money with advertisement. So when you go on your app, you see maybe on top the listings some kind of advertisement from some kind of company. So that's a way. And the other way is that we are also a platform for small and medium businesses. It can be car dealers, it can be real estate, it can be other smaller businesses who sell their services and goods. And we have on our platform over 500,000 professional dealers on our platform. That's enough for Kleinanzeigen. Then I would like to show you. Still working on the slide stuff. Our current ads we have. I'm sure you're not watching television anymore, so many. I'm also not watching, but it's also on YouTube, on other platforms. So here we go.
Nein?
Ja, aber zu teuer für den Schrank.
Dann ist sie ja perfekt für Kleinanzeigen. Einfach einstellen und ein paar bunte Scheine machen.
Mach jetzt die besten Deals und richtig Kohle. Kleinanzeigen. Große Wirkung.
Okay. And I don't know if you watched one of the Netflix series, How to Sell Drugs Fast. So, and you can see here, that's the main actor of this series, here in the green jacket. And this is how to sell secondhand fast. Okay, so I need to go back to my slides. I'm
I
sorry.
think if you press ask. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, then let's come to mobile.de. Also some facts about mobile.de. So who of you owns a car? That's okay. That's not even, or like 5 people in the room. I don't know how many of you there outside. So that's one of the main differences. So while Kleinanzeigen is a horizontal platform, so you can literally sell and buy everything, mobile.de is a platform for vehicles, for mobility. So it's specialized. So it's a verticalized platform. But that doesn't make us smaller. So we are Germany's biggest vehicle platform here. And we have 108 million visits per month on our platform. And we have 40,000 car dealers registered on our platform. And this number is stable since over 15 years, which means like that's almost market saturation. So we cannot say that every car dealer is is registered on our platform, but we can say the majority is, and of course we are proud of that. And to give you another numbers to see how big we are, so you will find 1.5 million vehicles listed on our platform. And we're not talking about cars only. So we have trucks, we have motorcycles, we have vans. And since 1 year ago, April last year, we also have e-bikes. How come? During the Corona pandemic, many car dealers were realizing it's hard to sell cars in specific areas of Germany, and people were looking out for other ways to move around. So, and they said, okay, we also sell e-bikes. And then the car dealers say, mobile, I don't want just put my cars on your platform. I also want to put my e-bikes on your platform. What do you think? So we thought like it's a good idea. So, and since last year, you can also find e-bikes on our platform. Yeah, and if you're looking for a car, I don't know. So here you are, all people living in Berlin and the city. So you almost don't need a car if the BVG is not striking and if there is no Schienenersatzverkehr. So then it works pretty well. But if you're not living directly in the city, of course, then you need to drive a car. You need to rely on a car. So, and you find almost cars in the big price range from €100. I cannot guarantee it drives anymore, but we have up to a couple of millions, and we also have sometimes VIP cars. So also some kind of very important people put their cars on our platform, and you could also read about this in the media. So these are some numbers about Mobile, and I want to finish my presentation about the company with a video we shot 1.5 years ago, also here in our office, and it showcases 5 colleagues of Mobile.de, and it tells a little bit about how we work together, and I hope you enjoy it. It's a combination of English and German, but I hope you can understand.
I had never heard of Mobile.de myself.
Eine Marke, die orange ist. Für die jetzt zu arbeiten.
Mobile.de? Mobile.de.
Mobile.de.
What is your country known for in the world? And there's these 2 German guys and one's like, World War, hey, cars.
Mobile.de ist Deutschlands größter Fahrzeugmarkt. Das ist, glaube ich, die offizielle Variante. Da sagst du, kenn mich doch gar nicht mit Autos aus, komplett egal. Dir wird nie irgendjemand eine Frage über Autos stellen.
It's not about cars, it's about mobility.
The mobility industry is heading in a completely new direction. Manufacturers trying to sell to end customers directly, so that's a new business model.
Not owning a car in the classical sense, but leasing.
Subscription.
Financing.
Additional products to actually maintain your car, insure it, to have it delivered to your doorstep.
And I really love that they're really trying to do something different.
Du kannst geilen Scheiß machen.
Heavy data science shit.
You don't have to innovate, but you have people who don't accept the status quo, who want to do better.
Und zwar alle zusammen. Wir wollen nicht so eine missgünstige Kultur, viel Politik.
I think warmness is the overwhelming feeling that I would think of when it comes to culture at Mobile.de. Also really fast. Let's give this another chance. No, it didn't work. Okay, let's try the next thing. We have enough ideas.
I hate companies that promote that they are carbon neutral because they've offset it, but next to it they're not doing much, you know?
We have all realized that it's time to do something.
I want everyone, when they think about a new product launch, to think, how can we integrate sustainability aspects within this product? In 3 years, I should not be in this company anymore, because sustainability has grown enough that every department has it anchored, and there's no need to have anyone driving it, because everyone will naturally drive it.
You and me, we have learned it's okay not to be super professional, super robotic, super on point all the time. It's not a race. You run and then you win it and then you're done.
Ich glaube, wenn man sich darüber Gedanken macht, warum man was macht, kann man auch viel mehr überlegen, was man denn machen sollte.
It describes the infinite game.
Ich als dein Teamlead würde genau daran arbeiten. Also zu gucken, wie kannst du denn die verschiedenen Bereiche, die du hast, zusammenbringen, alle deine Facetten, weil nur aus diesen Facetten wird dein Purpose am Schluss auch bestehen. Aber bitte nicht, mein Purpose is moving mobility together. Das ist der Firmenpurpose, den gibt's schon. Du musst dir jetzt deinen ganz eigenen suchen.
Okay. And I want to finish with some open roles we have. So if you looking for a job or you know people who are looking for a job, you can see here some roles which are vacant. For the people here in the room, I'm also here to help you. And for the people online, you can also find me on LinkedIn. I think you can see my name. It's Sophie Asmus. Please connect me. Thank you very much and enjoy the evening.
All right, folks, and we are back. And we have our amazing second speaker. So everyone join me in welcoming Kira. I don't know where to stand. I'm so awkward. Sorry. Kira is also a machine learning engineer at Curtis. Yeah. And she's going to share with us how you can make the most of your production data with a large language model as an agent. Yeah, what a mouthful. Okay, and I will let you do your introduction yourself. But I'm really looking forward to hearing all about it. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you. So thank you for having me today. Very excited to speak here. This is the story of my life, at least the best part of it. But in short, I'm a machine learning engineer with around 4 years of experience. And throughout my career journey, I started as natural language processing engineer working with texts and with language models back then, and then I pivoted to computer vision, and now here I am again, working with chatbots and LLM agents at Kertos. And our agenda for today is introduction to the problem of why we even need LLM agents. Then we can talk about what is LLM agent actually, and how we adapted the system to work as we wanted it to work. Then we will have just a very quick presentation of power of the system, and then final results and takeaways. So first of all, I will start a bit about Kertos itself. It's the company focusing on compliance. We are helping other companies to go through certification processes. And in short, we are using a lot of different texts like compliance frameworks. And of course, we have a relational database with a lot of vendors and data sources specific to compliance. So basically, we have a lot of data in relational database. And recently, like a lot of company adopting AI, we developed a chatbot So we developed a chatbot with a retrieval augmented generation, which is RAG. So we have the database with some vector representation for the model have some context to answer questions, specifically about compliance. But then we thought that it would be cool to actually combine those two databases, because we have some information about some specific user problems, some specific data sources, vendors, again, anything really. But we can't just put it in our chatbot because it's a very tedious process, and we can't query our databases manually each time then the user wants to ask some question. So this is when we adopted the LLM agent. So essentially, LLM itself, it's a very powerful tool, but it's unable to interact with other world. And this is why we're using agent. So agentic behavior allow us to use some tools, which are some calls for the environment, and get some results. Agents actually was introduced way before LLM, so it's quite an old concept, and it doesn't necessarily implies that we're using LLM. That's why I actually specifically told that we are talking about LLM agent, because as machine learning engineer, I'm like super into definitions, and here we are using specifically LLM inside of the agent. So basically, LLM works as the brain operation. But the agent itself actually uses different tools, and tools here are calls for environment. So it can be, for example, called to Gmail API. It can be called to query database. It can be any call really, but LLM itself is unable to do those things. So tools are very important for LLMs to actually do something. And this is why it's very important how we define them. So we are putting in the prompt specifically how the model can call the tool. And here, for example, for our specific case, we have some tools for querying relational database. We have some tool for querying our vector database with some context. We have tools for example, filtering. Anything which we want to do, we have to pull it. We have to put it in the tools. And of course, we have our LLM as something which would decide what we want to call. And we also have such concept as memory. It's very important for agents to have some kind of memory, because it wants to remember what was already done and what were results of it. And essentially on the right, you can see how agents actually think inside. So it's a constant process. First of all, the agent should have some thought. So for example, we have a query, and first the agent puts some thought into how we want to solve this query. And then there is the action. In our case, it's a call for some tool. Then we have observation, which is essentially answer from the tool, like what we obtained, what was the result of querying from the database, what was result from vector database. And then the agent has like reflection state, if we already have enough information to answer the input query. And planning strategies specific for LLM agents, it's usually React. So basically some action and then some reflection. And how we actually adopted it. So first of all, user uses chatbot UI to ask some question. And it implies that the user can ask something specific about the database we have. So maybe some information about user itself, about the company, about providers, something which we don't have in our knowledge vector base. So instead of just passing everything from different parts of the platform, and then expecting the chatbot to give some answer, we are automating it. So we have the agent which would answer the user query, and basically the user still uses chatbot UI. So this is very simple, and this is where the input query goes, and then the agent decides how the information should be obtained to answer the user query. So it can be call for our PostgreSQL, it can be filtering, it can be some information from our vector database or from our graph. Here specifically, we used PostgreSQL as a relational database, so basically some structured data. And we use Neo4j as the source of graph information and vector context information. And just a note that here I'm not covering how exactly we created the Neo4j database, because it's also a big topic. We are focusing primarily on the agent today. And here is a short presentation of Power. This is actually a Streamlit MVP, how it looked like. We actually have much nicer UI, but this was created by a machine learning engineer. So it is what it is. So first of all, we are pasting some query. And then we actually have some thought process. Basically, the agent decides what it wants to do. Those are results from the first step, essentially, and there are some more steps coming. This is the result of querying our relational database. And this is actually the final output. So this video was actually sped up, I think, twice, because our first MVP was quite long, I would say, because agents actually takes a lot of time to think about stuff. So it wasn't exactly a fast process, but essentially the input query was a question around vendors with some certification in specific country. And what agent has done, it actually queried the database to find first vendors specifically in USA, then specifically with some certification. And based on that, we have certain answer. So the user don't have to just go through the whole platform and try to find this valuable information. And then, what's in the end? So first of all, we actually obtain the flexibility. I'm sorry, this is misleading instead of. But anyway, so basically those are actually pros of our approach, that we have a lot of flexibility in handling the requests. And the user can type whatever information they want. And if the information is our database, we actually have the answer. So we don't have to query the database every single time something happens. The agent decides itself what to do. And we don't have to rewrite our database in certain ways so the agent can use it. We just can plug some LLM and have pretty good results. So a lot of actions are automated, and we don't have to have any kind of human intervention during the process. So the agent fully autonomous. And again, data is utilized without changing structure at all. And here comes limitation. First limitation is basically comes from the definition of tools, that new functionality requires adding more tools. And currently, developing tools actually takes some coding understanding how you want to define those tools. And this has to be done manually, and then it all goes to the prompt of the model. But anyway, we have to do that ourselves. And especially considering our company, it was super important to make sure that the agent queries only information that user has access to, because we don't want to mess up. So this was done essentially through the tools. So we had to restrict access and make sure that none of the information mess up. The next one is memory limitation and attention span in the LLMs. So attention span in LLMs refers to the situation then the model forgets what happened in the middle of the text. And this is actually, even with all the super large model with a lot of context windows, with like huge context window, we still have attention span. So LLM tend to remember better what happened in the beginning and in the end. And this works for agents as well, especially for complicated prompts. We have a lot of action happens, and the LLM also could forget like what was the problem actually. And the same goes for memory limitations, because memory is essentially what the agent remembers from the interactions. So we can't just put everything in memory, and for very sophisticated prompts, we also have to cut something. And then we have hallucinations, which is a very common problem for LLMs, and overthinking from the core model. Overthinking is the situation then the model tries to query the same database, for example, a couple times, basically perform the same action couple times because the first time it didn't return any results. So the LLM thinks, okay, I will try again. Hopefully it will work. And it's actually quite a dangerous situation because sometimes LLM goes into the cycle of calling this tool until some results will be presented, which is not always the case, unfortunately. And the next problem is actually super global, which is lack of state-of-the-art metrics to measure agent performance. So what does it mean? It means that we can't actually say that this agent is accurate or not. We can only measure the output of the agent, and we can say if it's good or not. But what if the agent takes 5 steps instead of 10? And this is the situation where we don't have at least any valuable research yet of how do we want to measure that, because we have to compare it with something to get the understanding of how good our agent is. But if we've never collected the data sets on that, how do we want to do that? And essentially, right now, it's mostly about how much money we spend on each query or how accurate the results are. But still, there are a lot of questions, and they are not actually solved yet. And again, essentially, we are quite happy about our agentic system, and it significantly improved our flexibility, and it actually works quite reliable for most of the queries, and it actually doesn't take that much time, at least something we can tolerate. And with tools which defined well enough, the agent also doesn't seem to have any problems. But essentially, I would say that lack of the metrics is a big problem for the field in general. And I think there is still a lot of research which can be done here. So I wouldn't say that agentic system in general is silver bullet, especially for some very sophisticated tasks, some tasks which requires a lot of reliable actions, I would say. And I think I was super fast again. I'm a very minimalistic speaker, but yeah, I'm getting better, hopefully. So thank you very much for attention. And yeah, sure. Any questions? If
if you could repeat the question just for the...
Yeah.
So I have a question. In your system, you pictured now that you probably just have one LLM agent. Is that correct? Or is behind that box probably more agent? Because I've seen presentations where they say, okay, you maybe have an agent specific for a specific task, and then you like have one in the beginning that decides which agent is supposed to act now. And so I'm just wondering how you have built that, or do you just have one?
So the question was if we have one agent or several agents. So in the first version, we actually had one agent. We are adding more functionality, so we are expanding the amount of our agents. But essentially for the chatbot, we had just one agent, and it worked quite reliably. And I would say that I'm generally against over-engineering, and I think that in that specific case where we had only a question answering system, one agent was totally enough. And also in terms of how much time we spent for one problem. Any more questions?
I have two. I'm not in the area of LLMs. I do data engineering, so I was wondering actually in the opposite direction. When you said that the database that you guys utilized didn't have any, like didn't need to change, does it have a standard that your database or your system needs to have for you to actually be able to implement those agents in top of your database? Like what context does it need to have for you to be able to do that?
Good question. So actually, this is all is done by the tools. So essentially here, when we are defining tools, we do have certain templates of how we can query our database. So the LLM itself, it doesn't write the query, and this is important step in terms of reliability. So we are just providing certain templates of how to query the database, and what the agent is doing is just filling in parameters. So if we want to change our database, or let's say some fields changed or anything really, we need to rebuild the tools.
We have a question online. What is the benefit of using an LLM agent? Why that's confusing. Rather than tuning the LLM model on your data, especially given the use case where one would assume the compliance-related data or documents don't change so often?
That's a fair point, that compliance documents, they are not changing that fast. However, I would say that just in general, we used retrieval augmented generation, which is RAG, and this is way more reliable in a lot of cases than just fine-tune the LLM. And of course, we can just use LLM, but what we gonna do with user data? So the problem here was essentially querying relational database rather than just compliance questions.
Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the great talk. More of a out-of-the-box of this framework question. How do you protect your agent from abuse? So in the sense of like a user that asks a question that goes beyond the tools of that thing, or like, these when ChatGPT came out and companies had the first chatbots, and then people were trying to crack like them to make them do other things. Like, where's the security in your model?
So security in our model, first of all, it achieved by the fact that we are using the model which is already reliable in that term. So it is already checked for toxicity and for any aggressiveness. So the LLM inside itself, it's not toxic, not aggressive. And then We also don't have the tools to implement any aggressive actions. So basically, when we don't have the tools to answer the query, the model just uses inside knowledge to answer that. And for any toxic, aggressive input queries, it just answers like, I don't know, or I can't help with this.
Another question online. Do you have any tips for scalability considering latency?
Oh, that's a great question. That's a great and quite a technical question. So for scalability, I would say the first thing I would do is to actually try to squeeze the LLM inside, because essentially a lot of time goes to LLM just thinking about stuff. Then I would say that there is also a caching of very often responses. Of course, we haven't done that much research on how we want to measure the amount of actions which the agent should take to answer the query, but I would say that it's also the important metric to know. So I would say that first point is just LLM itself. The smaller, the better, I would say. Then for a final answer synthesis, we can use larger LLM actually, because it also uses inside knowledge. But for a tool calling itself, you don't need to be like super intelligent, because here the model shouldn't be just creative. And I would say that there is still a lot of research going on how we can speed up the process, because, of course, it's a very important question, I would say.
Any more questions, folks? All right, then if you could just stay where you are, Kira, we'll just say goodbye to our lovely online friends. Thank you very much. We will be signing off online now, but please stay in your seats if you're sat here in the room, because we're going to do a little activity together. So thank you very much, Kira.